I think, and as you can see, there's still excess gas left over in the assimilator, and it would have been pretty hard for Jumper to take a different expansion instead of building a Nexus there.
Ultralisk Cavern has been laid down. We don't really see any Ultralisk being built right now. I mean, the Zerg has more than enough gas to be able to produce a ton load. Jumper is getting that expansion on the bottom right, which is kind of sneaky, because I mean, not a lot of Zergs would scout that. I mean, who's brave enough to go for that?
Bface was going for a drop on that main, but he decided to hold off his army. He has a lot of cracklings, but Jumper has a lot of storm, and I think Jumper is ahead in upgrades right now. So, I mean, I don't think Bface is going to be able to hold this off.
Lurkers were just made, were dropped, so he might be able to hold this off, but if he doesn't start producing these Ultralisks, yeah, this might actually be game over.
Oh, but he manages to hold it off. I think Bface's macro is just real solid. He had those units just rally pointed in, or he just sent them in, and they got there in the nick of time. But he is hurting his own hatchery with the drone. But I think we can look over this one minor mistake.
Kind of reminds me of that Elky game in that pro game where he was hitting his own command center with a vulture and actually took it out.
Yeah. I like the fact that
another Doom drop coming on, but two Archons, two High Templars already. This drop looks like it's gonna fail.
Yeah, nice storm on those Overlords that would drop from units. That drop did not do any damage at all. And wow, Jumper, he's very much in this game.
Yeah, that hidden expansion in the bottom right is starting to kick in now, and since Bface doesn't realize that he has it, I think he's going to be very surprised once Jumper moves out with another force.
Jumper's unit composition is really starting to go towards the Archon side, meaning he knows that Zerg is probably going to get Ultralist soon, so he has the perfect counter to it. So it's not Jumper's actually being really smart about this late game.
Yeah, and if Jumper wants to attack that the base on the top with all those lurkers, he's not going to have any problems at all, because Archons, they take so many lurker hits and they absolutely dominate lurkers, and it looks like he's going to do exactly that right now. We'll see how this works out.
Yeah, the lurkers are pretty well spread out here, but there are just a ton of Archons from the protoss, so he can probably just brute force his way in at this point. It really does look like this expansion is about to fall.
Here comes the Ultralist, but it just might be too late. There's just too many Archons, with the upgrades being such a huge difference in this. It's just not going to matter at this point.
Also, the Ultralists don't appear to have either of the Ultralist upgrades. Or it looks like armor just kicked in for them, but they don't have speed yet.
Yeah, that was actually a very tight fight there. It's not over yet, but it looks like he's managed to hold it off for now with like 3 nearly dead Ultralisks.
Yep, and we see Jumper is adding a robotic support in his
This
base.
game is actually a lot more different. I'm giving credit to Bface for switching it up with this.
Yeah, he's adding that robotic support in his main. I really like that because those 2 Reavers in a shuttle late game, they do so much damage they kill Zerglings in 1 hit, obviously, and then they deal a lot of damage to Ultralisks. So we'll see if he can get those Reavers out, because that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, I think that's one thing you don't see enough. I think once a PvZ game gets into the late stages, you really need to be mixing in. Well, you don't have to, but it certainly helps so much if you mix in some Reavers into your force, especially since if the Zerg manages to get Defilers and Dark Swarms, the Archon attack becomes, I don't want to say useless, but it becomes a lot less effective.
Yeah, we see the consume almost being done. It's about 90% done. That could change the tide of the battle, but just losing this expansion on top, which had 4 hatches, which was essentially producing his entire army, if he loses this, it's just going to be extremely tough, because these bases are just going to fall like dominoes, essentially.
Yep, and by losing this, he's probably going to lose that top left base as well. So, I mean, he's making a lot of cracklings right now, but Archons are just going to rip through those. And, yeah, not much you can do.
Yeah, it's looking really ugly for Bface right now.
At this point, I just don't see a lot working. I mean, Toss has, you know, basically dominating upgrades, and he has this economy, it's busting economy, which isn't going to get slowed down anytime soon. While Zerg is just, his bases are falling slowly one by one. I just don't see how he could turn it around. I mean, cute Defiler build, or cute Defiler strategies might be able to work, but I just don't see it working.
Yeah, and you know how he has so many Archons and so many High Templar. It was definitely a good idea for him to rebuild that assimilator in the main, despite Rage killing it earlier, because that makes all the difference.
A Doom drop being dropped right now, drones, this might be the deciding factor right here.
He must not realize that he has another Expo up and that he's just running with those units that he has left.
These drones are being champs right about now, taking on these Zealots like they were nothing, shredding them apart. I don't see what Jumper could do.
I think one cool thing to note is that when he does this, the Zealots don't go after the drones because of the Zerglings there, and the drones manage to get in like a bunch of free hits. But of course they are still just drones, so this drop is basically useless.
Yep, definitely, and that Reaver is now out, so I mean, any potential that drop had, it's nope, not anymore. So we see Jumper now attacking this 3rd base. He's Bface trying to glitch the drones to mess up those Archons. He does manage to kill him, but 2 Archons left. They dominate lanes, not having much luck there. And it looks like Jumper is going to be taking Game 4 and taking the Starcraft Brood War GameFAQs Tournament of Champions 2009.
Yeah, I've got to hand it to Jumper. He played an excellent protoss. He responded well in all